News came out the other day from Charles Oliveira's coach Diego Lima that the fight with Michael Chandler next week at UFC 309 was in jeopardy and they may need a replacement. Dustin Poirier stuck his hand up and said, "I'm ready to go in," so I doubt that the fight has been called off, as the UFC would have announced Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira by now, with a few media members like Damon Martin saying Chandler assured him the fight is still on. So it raises the question now, is Michael Chandler compromised? Does he have some injury that he informed the UFC about and the UFC leaked it to Charles Oliveira's team? Michael Chandler has been out for about 2 or 3 years and has only had one camp against Conor McGregor, which I've heard from former wrestlers. This is obviously after decades of bodily punishment. If you stop working, training and taking bumps for an extended period of time, your body stiffens up. You lose the fluidity permanently, which very few people have taken 3 years off and came back the same. Muhammad Ali lost his speed, his footwork, and had to rely on his chin. Mike Tyson became a guy who just looked for one big punch and didn't have that same blinding speed and head movement. He was still fast, just not as fast. Henry Cejudo doesn't look as good, but Ali and Tyson had a decade-plus career afterwards, so we can see they weren't just rusty, they lost that ability permanently. Mike Tyson being in his 20s after the prison stint. I don't believe there's any proven science or studies on this, but in layman's terms, we can deduct that your body starts to feel the years of punishment once you become inactive. You have to keep moving or it falls apart. We're made to be on the go. With Michael Chandler also, his gym Killcliff FC is in Florida, while Michael Chandler lives in Nashville, Tennessee. The way he has it set up is he isolates himself from his family to train. It's going to be hard to motivate him to do actual MMA training with no opponent. So what has he been doing? If he's just been lifting weights and running, how is his body going to feel getting on the mats, wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu? What's his reaction time to punches and kicks look like? These are the sort of things that heightens his risk of injury, a tear, a concussion, a cut and such, along with the fact he's 37 anyway. I think Michael Chandler, having such a long layoff, he will literally crawl into the cage at this point. He's a very goal-motivated person. And I remember seeing a video, this was back when he was in Bellator, it was him doing motivational speaking. He has the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, I'm a small town, hard-working, blue-collar, corn-fed American ideology. He has insanely high belief in himself, which can work for you, and I think he can tell himself an injury doesn't matter. It would be good to keep an eye on Chandler in the fight week, see how he's moving, how he's training, try to spot if he's working around the injury. If you're thinking of betting on Chandler or hoping for some late career title run, these aren't good signs. Michael Chandler being an explosive athlete also. Explosive athletes have a short shelf life. Now that doesn't just mean having power. As guys like Alex Pereira, they have that brute force and strength. Explosive athletes are pure fast twitch speed. Michael Chandler relies massively on that. His whole style is tailored around it. The way he hops around and explodes in with a right hand, the way he shoots takedowns and grapples, he's a sprinter. When you constantly have to do that, you're overextending your muscles, and things can easily pull and tear. These build up over time, and now you have lifelong weaknesses and injuries. It's almost always the slower, more technical guys who have the longest careers. You age worse if everything relies on explosiveness. The turtle beats the hare sort of thing. Michael Chandler also does a lot of CrossFit, which is an interesting way of training that involves a bunch of explosive movement. He really fell in love with his fast twitch muscle. Anyway, it would be interesting to see how this plays out. Let me know what you think in the comments.